Hello, Digital Works here. Going to do something a little different. Not going to talk about stocks and gaps. Today, we're going to talk about the best kept savings vehicle secret, bar none. It's never talked about financial influencers. It's never talked about at school or college or what have you. All they want to talk about is crypto, meme stocks, whatever, right? At best, they talk CDs, certificates of deposit. If you don't know what those are, go Google it. But right now, in case you didn't know, you can buy a savings vehicle from the US Treasury called a Series I savings bond, often referred to as an I bond. If you buy I bonds before May of this year, the annualized interest rate is 7.12%, meaning your bank account right now, you make I don't know, 0.0201% interest. CDs are not even paying 0.9% interest, not even a percent. I bonds, 7.12%. How is that? Well, these dudes keep up with inflation. Right now, 7.12. In May, I expect it to be much higher. 8s, 9s, 9%. 9% you can earn on your cash, and I'll tell you the limit of the amount of money you can do that with. But it's totally better than money markets, CDs, obviously savings accounts, but nobody's talking about them. Why? Well, I have my opinions on that because they want to keep everybody poor, but hey, whatever. But if you're new to I bonds, you never heard about it, you're welcome. So, what exactly are I bonds? They are bonds issued by the US government directly to retail investors, you and me, or you and I, if you want to get technical. Essentially, think of them as this: flexible term variable rate CDs. You lock your money in for at least a year and you earn a fixed rate plus an inflation rate. The downside right now of savings bonds, because the Feds in their printing of money, the fixed rate is at 0%, but the inflation rate is at 7.12%. If you knew about I bonds about 15 years ago, the fixed rate was like 0.1 to 0.7 to 1 or whatever it was. That means you'd be earning that, we'll say 0.5% fixed rate plus an inflation rate, which is currently 7.12. That means you'd be making 7.62%. Not bad. The difference with between that savings bond and a standard CD is that the CD you're locked in at a rate for a period of time. Say right now 0.9% for like 2 years, right? But with I bonds, every 6 months, it changes. The rate changes. It at least matches inflation, or at least what the Feds say inflation is. We all know what the real inflation is, like 15 to 20%, but we won't get into that. Now, with I bonds, you are required to hold them for at least 1 year. Can't cash it in. After that, you can cash out at any time, but you will have to pay, or you forfeit, interest for the previous 3 months. Cool thing is you can hold these puppies for 30 years. They will earn interest for 30 years. That 3 months forfeit, by the way, is far less painful than early withdrawal penalty for a CD, which sometimes you have to give up like 6 months worth of interest or even a year worth of interest. So again, better than a CD. The ability to cash out after 1 year with a low penalty or to hang on as long as 30 years, obviously, makes I bonds great for short-term and long-term savings vehicles. Interest earned on I bonds is credited monthly and stays with the I bond. You'll get the whole accumulated interest when you cash the bond in. So if you hold it for 5 years, 5 years worth of interest you get when you cash the bond in. Something to remember when you do cash the I bond, you have to pay taxes on the interest. We all know you just nothing free. The government always gets their take. But the cool thing is the interest is exempt from state and local income taxes. Why? Because they're a Fed sold vehicle. You can also cash in the I bond and use the proceeds, meaning the I bond cost plus the interest, for paying for education expenses. This preaching for all you dads and moms out there or grandparents for your children or grandkids' college tuition costs. All that's tax exempt if you pay for things like that. And if you put it down on a new house, first time buyers only. Think about that. If you went out there and you had $30,000 worth of savings bonds, earning 7 points, whatever percent interest average for like 10 years, you cash them in. All the interest you've earned is tax free, tax exempt if you're putting it down on your first home. That's pretty awesome. Can't do that with, CDs. So, where do you buy I bonds? From the Treasury Department. You can get them in either paper or electronic format. The catch is, to get the paper ones, you have to use your tax refund to do so. Otherwise, you're going to get electronic. You have to go to treasurydirect.gov, set up an account, link it to your bank account, and buy the I bonds that way. Important to note, though, when you buy I bonds from treasurydirect.gov, the limit is $10,000 per year per Social Security number. So you listening to me, you can go out and buy 10 grand worth of I bonds. If you're married, your wife or your husband can also go buy $10,000 worth of I bonds. When you buy using your tax refund, you're limited to $5,000 per tax refund. So here you go. This is what's cool. You listener, say you're a man. You go buy $10,000 worth of I bonds. You're married to your wife. Your wife then goes and buys $10,000 worth of I bonds. That's 20 grand, right? Two Social Security numbers. But if you, the man, get a tax return of 5 grand, you can roll that 5 grand into I bonds. So now you're at $15,000 and your wife has $10,000. $25,000 versus your regular $20,000 if you're not using a tax refund to get that extra 5. So that ain't bad. All that earning said percent, keeping up with inflation, again, far better than anything else out there that's considered short term, quote unquote, a year plus. Now, oh yeah, key here. If you're getting $5,000 as part of your tax return, you might want to look into that, make some adjustments because you're essentially giving the US government a $5,000 loan at 0% interest. Think about that. You're getting the money back. It means you're overpaying, meaning they get free money at 0%. Yeah, look into that if you're getting that much in a tax return. Now, you can also open up a trust and purchase up to $10,000 in I bonds separately from your individual account. So remember, I was talking about 10 grand for you, 10 grand for your wife, $5,000 tax return, 25,000. Add 30,000 on top of that if you have a trust. So that's a moolah, right? So what else is out there that you can compare to I bond? Well, you have Treasury bills, Treasury notes. Just FYI, it is April of 2022, and the United States 7-year note is 2.8%. Yeah, you heard that right. 2.8%. The only way I'd be buying notes is if I maxed out buying I bonds. Because of my limit of 10 grand per Social Security number plus the 5,000 plus the trust, if you have all that and you still have money, you're like, what can I do with this money to let it grow instead of sitting in a savings account earning 0.01%? You go buy these 5-year, 2-year, 10-year, 7-year notes and get paid, over 2% interest, which is, I'll take it. I'll take 2.8 for 7 years. Think about the last 7 to 10 years. What was the average? Not 2.8. Yeah. Well, this has been Digital Works. Like I said, didn't talk stocks today, but if you want to, subscribe to the channel and you can hear us talk about our gap trading strategy in stocks. Or if you want to see cool videos of a 1959 Chevy truck hot rod, peace out.